The latest casualty. I was in my room that night planning my escape to the Cameron Village Library from the mixed up file style when I heard something about Shelbourne Elementary on the television in the living room. It was late. The new glow in the dark alarm clock I'd gotten for my birthday said it was 11:10 p.m. and Alexis was already asleep across the room. I slipped out of bed and tiptoed down the hall to peek at the TV. They were showing the pictures of my school while a woman explained all about the banned book locker library. They even showed a picture of me from last year's yearbook. I squeaked, but covered my mouth enough that mom and dad didn't hear me. On the couch, I saw my mom put her head to her forehead like she had a headache. Miss Spencer came on then. Fourth graders aren't old enough to make decisions like this for themselves, she said. That's why they have parents. That's why we have a school board. The school board agreed that these books were inappropriate for elementary students, in many cases harmful. The books were removed from the library for their protection. The reporter talked about how all this began with the school board meeting where Miss Spencer got them to remove the books, and then a picture of Miss Jones came up on the screen. At the center of this controversy is Shelbourne Elementary librarian Dr. Opal Jones, who all along has maintained that the book should remain available to all students. Miss Jones, decked out in a blue dress with white polka dots, appeared in a recorded interview. Every parent has the right to decide what their child can and cannot read. What they cannot do is make that decision for everyone else, she said. It was the same thing she said at the school board meeting. Tonight, Miss Jones has become the latest casualty in what observers are calling the Battle of the Books, the reporter said. The report cut to a man in a suit. Under his name, it said he was a member of the school board. Whether deliberately or through negligence, Dr. Jones let those books circulate against the express orders of the school board. As such, her contract has been terminated. Her contract had been terminated? That meant fired. Miss Jones had been fired, and it was all because of me. My glorious return. Dad drove me to school my first day back from suspension so I wouldn't have to ride the bus. I didn't want to have to sit there while Rebecca and Danny pretended not to know me. They probably still liked me, but now I was the girl who got everyone in trouble. They couldn't hang out with me anymore, or everybody would hate them too. I didn't blame them, but I couldn't bear it, not on my first day back. Dad knew I was scared to go back. He didn't even tell me not to suck on my braids. I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but he dropped me off with a kiss as the first bell rang, so everyone was already in class when I walked down the hall. I was going to get a tardy slip, but I wasn't too worried about it. Not like I would have been before. I wasn't the good girl anymore. I had just been suspended for 3 days. Being on time for class didn't really seem all that important anymore. I was glad nobody was in there when I got to my locker. Every day I went straight to my locker and put the combination of my lock to open it. But the lock was gone, of course. Mr. Crutchfield had cut it off. Suddenly, it was 3 days ago, and I was standing exactly where I was now, and I was watching Principal Banskiewicz open my locker and pull all the banned books out. I was crying in front of everyone. I started to cry now, but not as bad, just a tear or two. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand as I was going to open my locker again, put my books in, and get to class. At least now it would be empty, and I could put all of my school books in there without having to lug them around. But it wasn't empty. When I opened my locker, folded little notes spilled out of it onto the floor. Dozens of them. My locker mailbox had been stuffed full, and when more notes wouldn't fit in, they piled up inside my locker. I opened one with pink loopy handwriting. AA. I'm sorry you got suspended. Hang in there. Jana. Another one said, Dear Amy Ann, my parents got a letter telling them I checked out a book from the BBLL, but they didn't care. It stinks you got suspended. Principal Banana is a doofus. Kevin. They were all like that. Fourth graders writing to tell me they were sorry I got suspended, that Principal Bansky-Weska and the school board were wrong, that their parents had gotten the letters from Miss Bansky-Weska, said she would write, but neither their parents didn't care or they didn't care what their parents were upset. I sat on the floor and opened every one. I cried again as I read them, but this time I wasn't crying because I was sad. I was crying because everyone was being so nice. I stuck all the letters into my locker with my books, dried my eyes, and opened the door to Mr. Vaughn's classroom. Mr. Vaughn was in the middle of reading out a new list of vocabulary words when every head in the room turned and saw me. Rebecca squealed, jumped up, and ran across the room to hug me. Danny came over too, but just stood nearby smiling at me. Everybody else broke out cheering and clapping. Everybody but Trey. I was stunned by my class's response. I was sure everyone was going to hate me. I tried to call, but your mom said you were grounded, Rebecca said. Did you see all the notes Danny said? I told everyone the truth about why you got suspended. I didn't have a chance to answer them. Mr. Vaughn quieted everyone down and sent us to our seats. All right, he said. Welcome back, Amy Ann. As you can see, you were missed by everyone, including me. Now, if we can try to focus on our new vocabulary list. The word is valiant. As soon as we got to a time where we could get up and move around, Rebecca and Danny and a few other students hurried over to me. I worried that Mr. Vaughn was going to make us be quiet and separate us, but he pretended to be focused on something at his desk and not notice. I saw your picture on the news, Danny said, flicking his hair out of his face. Did you hear Miss Jones was fired? Rebecca said. I know, I said. It's still hard to think about it. Did you guys get into trouble? Nah, Danny said. I mean, we got a letter home like everyone else, but that's it. There's going to be a special school board meeting, someone said. My mom said I can go. Me too, some of the others added. What are we going to do now? Danny asked me. What do you mean? I asked. What's next? Rebecca said. How do we get Miss Jones and all the books back? Get Miss Jones and the books back? How is that even possible? And how on earth they think I would know the answer? It was over. The BBLL was finished, and so was I. But I didn't say that. All I said was, I don't know. Well, just wait till Helen comes, Danny said. Then they'll be sorry. We don't have to wait till Helen comes, Rebecca said. We've got Amy Ann. Mr. Van coughed, which told us it was time to get back to doing some real work. Rebecca and Danny smiled at me as they left, which made me feel even worse. What was everyone going to think of me when they realized there was nothing I could do? There was nothing any of us could do to fix everything. I looked up and saw Trey watching me from across the room. My fists clenched and my face got hot. It was 3 days since I got suspended. I felt sad, then sorry, then hopeless, then depressed. But now I was mad. And I was starting to think that giving Trey a big old knuckle sandwich might just be worth another 3 days of suspension.